Are we live?
Oh, yeah, we are now live. Hello, everybody. 3
Hello.
points. Way. Can't go wrong with a bit of 3 points, can you?
I think in the grand scheme of things, to do a kind of match review for me, I think open this up by hook or by crook. That will do. It's a win. It's a much needed win. I think even more social media put it bluntly, like a much needed win. And I think that sums up, I think, everybody's mood. And it's just, so what, as football is, what a crazy game. What a crazy game with how it went. First half again, pretty pitiful up until the game changed with the penalty. Saka's goal, I think it was Saka who scored, wasn't it? It was the way he was able to hold off. Semedo was of course disappointing, but it was a very nice finish. Thinking, oh goodness, from that point, what are we going to do? We did build into that first half after that, but still, Arsenal had 3 or 4 very good chances which they could and in a sense should have put away, and it probably would have buried us at half time, despite the bizarreness of what followed next. Clear red card for Luiz. You can't get away with that. Yes, it was a trip, but it was denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. And
Clumsy
Ruben,
oath again. That's all I can say.
Indeed, clumsy. You can't do that. Even if he's right on the edge of the area, if it's inside the area, has to give away a penalty. And Ruben put it away as he does, very, very nicely indeed. I think that's his 3rd penalty he scored this season or something like that. So he's certainly the maestro when it comes to putting it away from 12 yards. And obviously, then the second half. Well, what else can you say in terms of that goal? Yes, João in the first half wasn't as great as again in terms of controlling the ball and being able to ping things around. But I think the goal gave him clear confidence. It meant a lot as well from his celebration towards the camera the southwest corner.
Good that it means a lot, and it was an absolutely awesome strike.
It was a thunderbolt.
I have to disagree on man of the match. I don't think he was man of the match. I'll be honest. I don't think he was very good. For most of the game, he was quite just behind, just the same as normal. I mean, he's just slightly behind the ball. But you've made your place in the team worthwhile today because you've come out and scored an absolute.
Well, I think clearly goal of the season. I think by a mile at the minute. I think potentially. I think with it's just a clinical, just typical midfielder's finish where if he gets in space, takes a moment, takes a touch, and then knows exactly what he's going to do with it. And I think even more satisfying, it bounced off the post on the way in, and you could hear the clout of the woodwork as well. So it meant a lot to him, and I think hopefully that will give him a boost in terms of his playing. After that, he got better and he grew into the game in the second half. So much more comfortable, I think, after he pinged it in, and obviously we were much more comfortable down at 10 men, and even more comfortable with that bizarreness of the sending off. But clearly, I think as the rules stipulate in the law, if it bounces off your arm or your hand, then I'm afraid
Leno has hand towards it. I mean,
indeed, it's no choice. It is blatantly obvious.
That's a clear red card every day of the week.
Yeah.
I think Moutinho demonstrated why he's being played. I mean, he's obviously very, very passionate. It doesn't detract from his deficiencies in terms of pace. His booking in the first half, that early on, I was really worried by it. It was a bit unfair, to be fair. It was probably his second challenge, and it didn't look like a yellow.
I think his third one was then the one in which he then pulled out of and went, and the guy went down. I was like, oh my God, just for a second.
Yeah.
Well,
and on the replay, that was interesting.
Yeah, that replay where he just kind of pulled out and just kind of then braced himself for the impact, and it was a foul. And I was like,
you can be given a foul. You can
weird odd decisions. Didn't
I think it was one of those where you can. I mean, if you read the laws of the game, which very few people do, I appreciate.
Yeah.
You can give a foul away for a challenge which looks like it's going to cause a foul. So if you cause a player to take evasive action because you look like you're going to foul them, it's still a foul. It's very rarely given, obviously, because everyone's obsessed with contact. But in fairness to him, he knew. I thought that is his experience coming through. He knew he couldn't risk a foul, and he pulled out. Still got a foul given against him, but it was obviously never going to be a yellow after that.
Yeah, that's true. He's not going to get a card for that. I mean,
No.
that's the thing. He's still got the brain. That's not in doubt. And, and by the finish, he's still got the technique.
Yeah. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Our problems can be summarised with the observation which I've made before. Moutinho's brain in Traore's body, the perfect footballer.
Indeed, indeed.
That would be some player. That really would be some player.
Hey, we just need we need and I think again actually Adama not bad tonight again, just being able to did well, got down the right hand side pretty well in that first half. I know, and then second half as well. Yeah, he did what he needed. I think did a fair bit.
He did what he needed to do, didn't he? And he's too, for me, he's just too static off the ball. I don't think we shouldn't play. I'm not saying we should not play him. I just would like to see him a bit more active off the ball. And I he's such a danger. I mean, but if you watch Neto, even though Neto's positioning isn't perfect, he's always looking to reposition, and he's always looking where he can try and do something. Troy, just sometimes you think, please move somewhere where you think the ball's going to go.
I was watching Troy in that last 10 minutes where I was just saying to Cash before we started, I was screaming at the TV because I was getting very, very frustrated with the fact that Arsenal had players open. We've got 2 extra men on the pitch. Why have they got players open? Yeah. I know they keep the shape and stuff like that, but 2 extra players, come on. I think you can at this point ensure to run the game.
You can press, can't you?
Yeah, you can press onto the players and make sure. And the thing is, some of the times it was players who've just come on, and you're like, you shouldn't be tired. You've just come on. It's like you've got the stamina to be able to do that. But what I was noticing with Traore is he was one of the few who was anticipating and actually moving up into positions to stop that. And he was one of the only ones doing that. And I was really annoyed with some of them.
Yeah, because when they did, we won a corner out of nothing.
Absolutely, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. All I wanted them to do, I'll be honest, for that, there's about just after the keeper was sent off, there was a period where Arsenal were completely shocked. They didn't know what to do. And understandably, they've just lost the keeper. They're like, oh, bloody hell, what do we do now? It was like, oh, while they were finding their feet, they weren't pressing us. No problem with us passing it round the back there at all, because if someone's not going to come and press you and you've got a goals lead, just stand there with the ball for all I care.
Especially if they're at 9 men.
You may as well. Yeah, if they're not 9 men and no one is coming to you to get press the ball, just stand there with it and then wait for them to come. When they started later on in the game to actually start, they got their brains back into gear and everything back on track. It was kind of, which I can understand, going down to 9 in such a weird scenario. They started pressing, and then what really annoys me is there was some I call them lazy, but when I say lazy, I mean lazy-minded, where they just started to just underhit the ball to each other and get sloppy, and it's like, this is the time you need to switch on. And there was a couple of ones where they got lucky, and I really, and right at the end, giving away that free kick, and that was due. It was all down to sloppiness, and that's what they've got to stop. They've got to be switched on. They don't switch on for the first 10 minutes, as shown again by the first 30 seconds Arsenal hitting the post. And then, in that first 5 minutes, we were absolutely god awful. However, they did seem for once switched on when they came out in the second half, which was nice to see. And that was good. And that was and to go from here, they've got to stay switched on. I was disappointed that we seem to look, even again, we've got a goal lead. Okay, and at the time we've got 1 extra player, but we then went defensive. And we started just knocking it across the back slowly. And you could see the tempo starting to slow and slow and slow. This is why we get ourselves into so much trouble. We slow the tempo down. Then leads to complacency, lose the ball, a quick counter, we lose, they equalise, and then we've lost all the tempo, and it's really, really hard to get that back. But then I suppose the goalkeeper being sent off kind of just killed the game, really.
Yeah, and it was a kind of a fairly just hilarious and bizarre moment where it's pretty obvious that the ref had no choice. It was clear as mud, and Arsenal could do absolutely nothing after that. And except from obviously them coming forward and Bolly with that block at the end. Actually, when it came to Bamyang, it was just
that's my point. That shouldn't be happening.
No.
Exactly, with us having 2 extra men.
Never even got there. They should never even got there. Absolutely no need for that to have even been in that position. And those are the sort of, I think it's like you've said before, those silly little mistakes in games, and that's what they've got to just.
That's what we've got to cut out.
When they say they played professionally. The game against they played professionally. They never got out again, didn't they? No, that wasn't professionally. Professionally would have been to hold on to that ball for that entire last 10 minutes.
And you totally tie the
not
team.
Give it away.
If you've played football, you know how soul-destroying it is to chase the ball. It's soul-destroying.
Just on that there's a game with colleagues back in October before the second lockdown. I was obviously trying to chase the ball around. You get knackered. You get absolutely shattered. As a right winger.
Why I don't understand the whole concept of just giving away the possession to another team. I can understand. I can to a degree understand not going gung ho forward. I'm a gung ho forward type person.
I am as well.
But I understand if you're not going to play that. But you keep hold of it, and you keep hold of it in an area it doesn't do you damage.
Well, there was a point where we lost the ball in an attack, and I think it was Traore cut inside. I think he tried to make the pass, didn't go to plan, and their reaction was to clear it quickly, and we won it straight back. Because if you watch Man City, they're very good at that. They'll lose the ball vastly more times than they score, obviously, but because the team is so under pressure, they just want to get rid. They don't want to risk losing it. So it depends.
It's how we used to be. We used to be like that. We need to
return to that.
As soon as
I think so.
Okay, I'm going back to the championship game, but as soon as we used to lose the ball, God, we worked hard to get it back. That was a trait, and it was a really good trait. I really like that. As I said, I can accept that the manager's not gung ho attacking, which I like, but I appreciate that. But what I do appreciate is if we do lose it, we go hell for leather to win it back straight away.
Yeah,
because, as you say, that puts the opposition under pressure to get rid of it quickly. They never get their momentum going. They don't get their momentum to build. Arsenal let us get our momentum. We weathered the storm, and Arsenal actually let us get our momentum back, which was their biggest mistake. Yeah. Absolutely most mistake, because our passing in the first half was awful. Really nervy, really awful, and we got.
If you look at the goal, could you honestly see that coming from the penalty? I mean, it just goes to show one thing: play balls into the box. Players know
absolutely.
They can't make a challenge. I mean, in fairness to David Luiz, professional football is extremely good at what they do. Was it intended or not? We'll never know. But the point is, 9 times out of 10, a good defender won't make a challenge there because he knows if he clips them, it's a penalty.
Exactly. That's it. Unless you get that ball. And even if you get the ball, in some cases, it's a
penalty. Yeah. You're relying on VAR. So playing the ball into the box, especially at pace. Like Neto had one where he just seemed to walk past players because once he did a classic walk past them and then they couldn't challenge him because he was in the box. And a couple of times he had admittedly tight angled shots, but they could not challenge him in that position. And that's the difference between passing it around the back and losing it sillily with a silly mistake and driving into the box and then forcing something. The worst case is they'll clear it, and they'll clear it in a panicked way. Your second worst option is a corner. The third worst option is a goal. Clearing it might be the goal that catches it.
And again, like you said, I mean, I'd swap the two wide players over. I'd have Traore on the other side and Neto on the other side, because then then their natural inclination will be to, well, I think Neto's
Yeah.
is, the natural inclination then would be to drive into the box because
Yeah.
that's the side you're on. So you don't have to even think about it. You already just go, well, I'll just go that way because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And then,
Absolutely.
like you're saying, you drive into the box and you get one of those three outcomes, and then you have that. Then there you've got that other midfielder, be it Podence is what? Well, Podence will be in there, in and around there. Willian's going to be in there, and then another midfielder or the A midfielder can be around the outside of the box for that opportunity if something
Absolutely.
drops. You know,
Absolutely.
it's nothing to do with gung ho. It's just sensible. Well, it's percentages, really, isn't it? I mean, you're just looking
It is
at
playing the
where are the
percentages.
most likely places the ball's going to go. You put someone there, and more often than not, you're going to get something out of it. And it's just that sort of positioning that we don't always seem to do because, like you've said before, Richard, you know, we're a little bit frightened of doing that.
But the great thing about that, if you're a forward, is your job as a forward is a long, boring night if all you're doing is pressing from the front, looking for the odd ball in. If you know the team's going to drive in, you'll gamble. Because that's your instinct. It's like if you've ever fished with predatory fish, you can put in a bit of tin foil in the sea and they'll go for it. There's an instinct there, and you just want to feed off that instinct. And the instinct is, just put it somewhere where I'm going to want it more than that defender. And if the defender does well, like we've said before, it's going to be a ball bouncing somewhere. It could be a corner. Yeah, it might bounce into the keeper's hands, might bounce in the goal, but you're going to force an issue. And I come back to kind of the Warnock way of playing where, and it was very noticeable in the Championship where they weren't outclassed completely, because let's face it, they were an awful team in the Prem. But in the Championship, where they weren't a good team, but what Warnock did was, you get the ball, guys. All I want is an outcome. I don't care if it's a goal kick, very much, but you make an effort on goal. It could be a long-range shot. It could be driving in. Just drive, because the chances are, because he knew they weren't that good, we'll get something. And they got promoted simply by playing that way. By playing that way.
And as he said in that documentary about him for covering the 2004-05 season at Sheffield United, which I've seen many times, but is entertaining to view. I remember the quote of, "I don't care if it's a effing knob end in the 90th minute." That's him just being very brute honest and being like, go for it.
Well,
we need something. We want something. Exactly right.
You add some of that into the more patient stuff of knocking it around and probing, and you don't need to do all that. You don't need to do all the other. You mixed it up, and when if you've got nothing on, you've got two choices, haven't you? You either go do something, gamble something, or you knock it round again. But if
you've got nothing on, and you're the last player, you don't gamble. If you've got nothing on and there's a whole team behind you, you get, especially if you've got pace like Traore.
You got to go for it, just as João did.
In fairness, Neto, like João did, He saw some space. I'll have that. I'll eat that space. I'll have a shot. And that was straight down the middle, which we hardly ever do. That's won us the game today.
Actually, both of our goals were straight down the middle today.
Yeah.
Because Willian's run... Podence held it up nicely, waited for the run from Willian, runs past him, lovely run into the box.
Indeed. Super ball from...
Absolutely perfectly weighted ball in front of him.
Brilliant ball, which was like a hot knife through butt of that from Podence. We need more of that from Daniel. We need much more in terms of it.
I'll be honest, they don't make a challenge for the penalty that I still think that's going in.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I think it would have done if Jose had got himself on the end of it, because I say hot knife through butter with the ball that was put through, and that build-up play was lovely, and then obviously the penalty converted was very, very nice indeed from Neves. He might maybe become our designated penalty taker, as he's done it many times before. I think it's the 6th or 7th time he's done it in the league, in the Premier League.
I do think. When Raul, apart from the Europa League,
except the Europa League final, quarter-final,
the fact he can wait until the keeper's moved is, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, his ability just to hang on to the I don't know, 10th of a second, 100th of a second. I've never seen anything like it. And that's the kind of player Raul is. I mean, we do miss him. I mean, he's a level above. He's not a great striker of the ball like some strikers, but his intelligence and his defensive play, his hold-up play is just, and his ability to strike a ball in the penalty is just.
Nothing short of brilliant.
I think you could play Raul if he comes back behind Jose.
Oh God, yeah.
Because he's got that sort of ability to be able to pick.
And Jose,
he doesn't rely on pace. He doesn't rely on pace either.
Oh, that was a nasty tackle. Goodness me. Jose, I think fair few people thinking he looked all right tonight. Let's say that run was a good example of it, and I think some of the ways he was able to get the ball, and obviously he had that shot again, which not too far out, not too far off. Good that he was able to get into the position when given time and space. They say that I think that particular shot, which went into the keeper's hands.
He's not upset to mix it as well. He'll
exactly.
He's going to be fine. He's absolutely fine, and
he just needs to find the back of the net at some point, which I think will happen soon.
I don't. I mean, I don't see any problem there.
No,
you get the service to him, he'll score.
He's got that penalty by his movement.
Yeah,
indeed, exactly, and that's a real positive. And say his movement, I think, in general was good. And say when he has the time and has the space to say with his shot, with the shot, he can make use of the ball, and it was a thunderous hit. That it was obviously went straight to the keeper, but ultimately it is a good sign of him knowing his game. And it's exactly what we needed from that kind of striker. I think him and Raul, once Raul's back, I hope we do get Jose in the summer, because I think he and Raul could link up very nicely, and say him and João, obviously with Pedro Neto as well, being again very decent tonight and assisted as well. I noted. Which is good for my fantasy league team. Already assists from Neto and Callum Wilson, actually, so it's not a bad start. But again, just the way in which Pedro holds up the ball, wants to use it, gets himself into space, is just really impressive, and very, very much deserves credit for. Very much deserve credit, obviously, for the pass to João. He saw João, knew what João was going to do with it once he gave him the time and the space. So it's just very good awareness from the young Portugueseman. And it's all the Portuguesemen who are doing the job tonight, and that's again showing the European champions very nicely in terms of.
There is an issue which. I'm going to say something which might be controversial.
Okay.
Max Kilman at left back was obviously not comfortable there.
No.
Yeah.
He's always going to struggle, I think, tonight.
And I think that's the point, Kashmir, because he was going to struggle, and you kind of felt. And my view would be he was a bit hung out to dry there because it wasn't his natural position. He's up against one of the best, on paper, one of the best sides in the country. Certainly a top 10 side, as you can see.
Yes.
I think even though he made, I'm not going to say mistakes, but he was uncomfortable, I'll say that. I think he should go home and think, I've done my job as best as I can tonight. Semedo, I thought, was excellent again tonight. I mean, he made a mistake for the goal, but it wasn't a mistake as in a mistake. He just didn't make the challenge.
That's what I think about Semedo. Is he's a 50-50 player. He does 50%. I mean, 50% really, really well, and then
the other 50%.
Absolutely, he seems to be having utter brain farts on some of the other things.
I don't know.
And then the other 50%, it can be a bit.
I think it was a good turn.
He should have said it. If he tried to get the challenge, then it could have been a penalty if the ball hadn't gone in. But it's one of those which I'd say that the finish was very nice from Saka. You can't take that away from the way he placed it was superb.
For me, I didn't put Semedo as a fault for that.
No, I didn't.
Not at all.
I thought Cody had a shit game. I'll be honest, and I thought because he just seemed to be very static and seemed to be stuck. He didn't, bearing in mind. Okay, we're playing 4 at the back, but it was like he was still trying to play a sweeper.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think for me
I
that
don't know why
midfield
we
didn't
played him.
work. That midfield didn't work defensively.
No.
I think Neves is. I mean, to me, Neves is the first name out of those three should be Neves. I'm not
Okay.
taking away what Moutinho did tonight. I think the game grew into a Moutinho space more and more. But from the beginning, you thought we're going to get tanked here. If that goal had not been VAR'd off, we would have been tanked. Absolutely. And the problem was that they could just walk up to our back line. I don't think Bolly played badly, but the problem
I think
is,
it was the pick. It was definitely the pick.
I think Kilman was out of position, and I think Cody, he's okay when you're facing the ball and he's organising, but the positioning was Semedo was really needed somebody backing him up there. So he doesn't have to make. And I think it was Neves, was it coming back for the second challenge?
Yeah.
And to me, that I'm not saying Cody's at fault. I'm just saying it doesn't work. And it's like I'm not saying Cody or Moutinho's bad.
I felt Cody should have been out there, moving out and starting to, because there didn't look like there was any. I'm trying to.
No threats. There
was no threat coming from elsewhere. So why is he standing in the middle? He's not actually defending.
Because that's like Cash said, that's his job. And you see, I don't want to. Cody is critical to Wolves. For a start, I don't know who's done the interviews tonight, but 9 times out of 10 it's Cody. He'll stand up, and he's the man who, if we're playing Man City, he's organising that back line. He'll throw his body in for blocks. I'm not criticising anything like that, but it's just the fact that when you've got Neves, who hasn't got pace, Moutinho, who hasn't got pace, and Cody, who isn't he can play there. He's a professional footballer, but those three together leave you vulnerable in that position. And you want Neves.
I don't think Neves is slow, but he's not electric.
He's not going to. He's not Pogba fast, is he? He can't.
No.
He plays deep for a reason.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't think he doesn't get turned as easy as some of the others. But,
no. He's a very clever player, Neves. For his age, he's got all. He has got all the. You put a bit of skill on that player, a bit of experience. He's only 23, coming on 24. 2 years' time, he's world class. In the right team, he is absolutely world class. If you can't, I mean, people going about he hasn't scored many. It's not his job. I mean, it really isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You're playing defensive midfielder. They're not renowned for their high goal scoring return, really.
Exactly.
If you watch him on the ball, he is tricky. He can keep hold of it. It's just 3 out of those 3. I think you can play 2, but you need pace somewhere in that triad. And it's not a knock on any one of the players. It's just you want the 3 players to be greater than the sum of their parts. You don't want to expose the weakness of them. I'm just being naive. I don't know.
No, I'd have had Kilman and Bolly in there. And I would have kept the fullbacks where they were, because I thought Ivor had done nothing in my book.
Ivor had done nothing wrong to get dropped.
I really think he was very, very harsh on him, and I actually, as I said before, I thought Semedo's had his best games at left back.
Tonight obviously he was back in his normal position and was good as well. And I just noted
it was good, but then at the end though, I was slating him because it was very, very lazy-minded. I mean, that free kick at the end was all down to some sloppy play.
Yeah,
and it just wasn't required.
I think it was a bit.
But bearing in mind he's an experienced player, I expect better. No, if that was one of the younger ones, I can get that. But they're young and a bit more green and stuff like that. But for him and Moutinho right at the end, and I know they're tired, but
I think you've got to give a bit of my view there, and I'm not. I think you've got to look at the context of the pressure. I can't let him get past me. So I wouldn't be too critical. I think Semedo's play in general, I think, is a cracking player. I think if Traore, whoever's kind of right biased to midfield, right. But I think Semedo has got. He is streets ahead of Doty. Sorry, we just got to play him right.
I mean, I know this is ridiculous, but in a 4-2-3-1, when we've got Johnny back, I'd have whoever on the right, Johnny on the left, and then in midfield I'd have Neves and Semedo.
See, I can see that here. I had an argument with somebody.
Because the way he was playing tonight, and he was coming in central a lot.
He's intelligent.
He looks he looks actually pretty good there, I thought, but it won't happen. But,
that's a big hot take.
I defended you. I defended you on that one, and I think the problem is the people. The response was, "Show me when he's played that position." Well, according to an article which it takes 2 seconds to find, he did play in that position early on. The problem is, I mean, Cody played.
I saw that on the forum.
Yeah, Cody played in central defensive mid early in his career, including that he scored that absolute screamer for Huddersfield.
And we bought him on the basis of that, and then played him at right back, and he wasn't great. And then Nuno spotted it. So it's about spotting. It's about spotting where the player can make the most impact, and we've got the players. I mean, we've got the age on our side for most of them. This is what I'm most excited about. And the run we've been on, and we might lose to Leicester. They're a good side. They're top 4. I'm looking at the table. If we lose to Leicester, but we put up a good fight, it's not the end of the world. If we lose to Southampton, you might be a bit concerned. A draw would be good. You've got to be realistic. You know, it's not 8 games without a win now. It's reset. It doesn't matter 2 players were sent off. Moutinho, in fairness, he probably dragged us to the victory by controlling the midfield. You know, he gets tired, but you don't know how tired mentally the other players were. It was the win we needed. It was the result we needed. We've still got problems, but we've also got a lot of positives in the bank. It's just, please, Nuno.
I mean, there was more element. There was better. There was. Once they started to get a bit of confidence in themselves, the tempo was better. I mean, in fact, to be honest, even when under pressure, even though they were under pressure horrifically, but they still were at least passing it with some tempo. It was off, I'll give you that, but the tempo was at least there. So that was, and that for me is what helps. Well, you know, I say it all the time. Tempo is key to this team. This team looks better when it's zipping the ball around and doing things quickly. As soon as which is why I get so annoyed when I see them sit back. Yes. Because they slow right down and they're not good at it. They're just not good at it. But they're great at playing at tempo.
Exactly. I know they were trying that. I know we were trying that a little bit. I know we were trying that a little bit in the first half, I think, when Kilman was down the left trying to interlink it with Pedro, and I could see what they were doing and trying to get that kind of that quickness and sharpness back. And if we could crack that, then hopefully it will spur us on to better things. As we say, it's such a win. I think don't care how you win it. It will hopefully give everybody confidence, and obviously Sunday will be interesting. Who would be your man of the match?
I was about to say.
As a segue,
man of the match. I don't know. I don't know.
It's an easy call for Moutinho, but I don't think he.
No, I don't think he was man of the match.
No, I think Neves put in a lot of work, which went unnoticed.
I was going to go Neves, but I don't think because he got subbed relatively early.
Moutinho came on for him, didn't he? I think, or was it Dendoncker?
I'm going to go for Neto.
I can see that as well. It feels unfair on Moutinho, but I think. I was going to stick with Neves, to be fair. I think all 3.
Neves. Yeah, tempted by Neves. I'll be honest, there's a very late shout for the second half performance of Traore for me, because I thought in the second half he was very, very good.
Yeah. Causing problems again in terms of getting crosses in, scooting past.
But not just in an attacking sense. I thought he was coming back and defending well.
Oh yeah, he did his defensive duties excellently.
I thought that, but no, I'm going to personally go Neto. Rich, you're going for Neves?
I'll stick with Neves. I think he deserves credit for the hard work.
I will probably say edge it with Neves. I'll edge it with Neves with him working hard in the midfield, putting away the penalty very, very easily. Knowing as well, obviously he on Saturday as well was on the bench. I don't know when it happened, but obviously his missus gave birth. And he had to be on FaceTime, so there's obviously a lot of emotions, no doubt, going through the lad, and he did what he needed to do on the pitch today. So just such a professional.
I think one thing that drives me for Neves.
Yeah, go on. No, sorry,
well, the one thing that drives me for Neves is, and Cash reminded me, we're 1-0 down. We're right in the 45th minute. We've got a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He steps up. We score. We go in 10 men against 11, slate even.
Yeah.
That's very different from we're against 10 men. I'll take a punt. The pressure is on there.
You don't score that, and that the confidence is destroyed.
Well, you go in as Arsenal and you say they've missed a penalty. We're 1-0 down, 1-0 up.
Yeah.
We hit them on the break.
Yeah,
and completely different game.
It would have been a different second half.
I want to emphasise Moutinho was extremely good today. I don't want to knock him, but he doesn't. But for me, I've got to go with the goal that changed and the player who I think made the game. He doesn't always. He's usually too deep for people saying, why isn't he up? Well, he stepped up, and for me, I'm kind of confirming my view. To be fair.
What I was going to say, because it's a more of a daft point than a sensible one, but he was just regaining his form after his last child. All those sleepless nights, and that's another load of sleepless nights for him. It's like,
and in fact, he has it again. He can't be in Portugal because of COVID restrictions. I think they're in lockdown again, just like here, and obviously, therefore, he had to view what happened on video. So it's no doubt massively tough psychologically in terms of him not being able to be by his missus' side. But he's doing what he needs to do on the field and making everybody rather pleased about it. So certainly give honourable mentions obviously to Pedro, and I think to say Jose and Nelson. And also Vitinha looked really tidy for his second half.
Yeah, he showed a lot of confidence on the ball, didn't he?
Indeed. Looked very nice coming forward, nice and kind of bit, I'd say silky. That's the first word that sprang to mind. But very comfortable.
Did anyone notice the commentators getting Vitinha and Neves mixed up a few times?
Am I surprised?
Vitinha,
it's
Neves,
BT Sport.
So no, not Vitinha and Neto. Sorry, yeah.
Vitinha and Neto.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've heard some fantastic ones on BT Sports in the past. I think they got Traore and Dendoncker or someone.
How is that practically possible?
But okay, well, all right then.
Maybe we'll have to bring Jake Humphrey and the whole of the commentary team. Ian Dark, I think, is in the commentary box again for us tonight, covering that one tonight from BT's perspective. Doing maybe we have to get them down here again and be like, can you spot the difference between Leander Dendoncker and Adama Traore? If not, then don't even dare commentate. Come on, it's ridiculous. And also, one positive. Only one loss in the last 3 league games. With obviously the draw at Chelsea, then obviously last weekend, and now tonight. So that's obviously
4 from 3 you'd take every day of the week, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 4 points from 4 points out of a possible last. 4 points from 3 games, exactly in a position where we need what we've had. And of course, our last 3 wins, ironically, have now been Arsenal in later November, Chelsea in December, and now Arsenal again. So we're doing it against the big sides, and obviously adding the draw against Spurs and almost holding on for a draw at Man United. We again are liking it against the bigger sides. That was our first. That was our first. By the way, that was our first. Apparently, I think I've seen it's the first league double against Arsenal since 78, 79 as a stat. So that's again breaking more records.
One final bit then on before we move on to the next Sunday's game
Yeah.
is I think is a positive is that we started with 4 at the back
Mm.
and didn't revert to sitting and trying to counter and stuff like that, because I think that signifies a better mentality within the team than just thinking, oh, we've got to defend for our lives. It's a better way of thinking.
Hey, corner counts. Corner count. Yeah, we actually came forward a fair bit more than other games in terms of just trying to wing it. Basically,
I think if we have Johnny on the left there,
when Johnny's back,
and assuming he's back to anything approaching what he was before, a lot of our problems go away. And you can bring
Johnny's awesome.
You could ease Etnori in there, which I think would have been the plan ideally. I think Marcal is good cover when he's back, but to have both of them out, I mean, to be fair, I don't think Marcal's put a foot wrong. He's just very cautious going forward. So Johnny, we need him back. We need Marcal there when we need him. We need Etnori just to run with the ball. I think on the right, Huvier, like you said, I don't think he's done anything wrong. He's a phenomenal presence for an 18-year-old. I mean, what's he going to be like at 22, 23? Give him more game time, please. Semedo quality. The problem is, and in a 4, I would rather not see Cody, especially if balls are coming in high into the box or players are driving at him. If we think we're not going to be under vast amounts of pressure, more than happy. So, yeah, I think your point about 4 at the back is a brave call. And again, we won. But we know where the deficiencies are in the team. If we can resolve those, I can't see anything but a really positive future. We've got to hold on to Neto and Neves though. If we're going to do anything going forward, a 20-year-old and 23-year-old, 3-year-old at this level, a forward midfielder. My God, in 3 years' time, they're world class. They're both world class.
So I think absolutely. If we can hold on to a fair few of what we got in the summer, I suspect the summer will hopefully go big in terms of get through to the end of this season. Hopefully, say financially things were a little better in the summer January, and then the club decide, and then obviously Fosun decide to get into the pockets again. So it will be interesting to see how much we do spend when it comes to the summer, knowing obviously it's the environment is very much different, and maybe hopefully we'll have fans back in stadiums by next season. Of course, 10 million shots have gone into people's arms, first and second doses combined. So obviously, I mean, also, I see a game like tonight. I'm pretty sure if there were fans at Molineux, it would have been very, very ideal in terms of. I couldn't imagine a place if there were folks in there seeing Jowls magic. That would have been a hell of a moment. Just a bit like Neves' screamer against Espanyol last year, which was beautiful from in the South Bank and caused carnage. But yeah, I think the youngsters have got a lot. The youngsters, our younger folks, just getting back to that, I think are really proving themselves. And so it was a shame that Hoivo was left on the bench, but there we are. At least though, Johnny, thank goodness, Johnny is almost back. By the sounds of it, sounds like he's relatively close. So
nothing builds your confidence up knowing that you've been missed.
Yep, exactly. He's been badly missed. It's horrible, quite frankly.
Leicester next. Yeah.
Leicester City on Sunday, 2 p.m. at Molineux. Of course, Leicester was surprised. Leicester were beaten by Everton on the weekend, but I think it's showing the fascination of this season being just all over the shop.
I don't think so. I mean, Vardy wasn't playing. I think they rely so much on the threat of Vardy.
Yes, and of course he's injured.
Well as the actuality of Vardy. They're a good side still. You can't knock them.
You can't fault
them. But you're looking at fine margins at Premier League level. People say West Brom worst team ever seen. Well, they did us, didn't they? And the margins are small in this game, so we need to exploit that. We know that they're going to break. They're going to break with pace. They've got Barnes. They've got Pereira coming back on form, but we don't have to be as terrified of that as we would if Vardy was playing, because Vardy's other great skill is in the box. He is literally like, oh, there's the ball, there's the goal.
He's a
That'll do.
monster in the box.
Yeah,
Give him
yeah.
a chance to get near the ball in the box,
Yeah.
and he'll do something with it.
Barnes is good. Let's not knock him.
Under the body, yeah.
And who's the other guy?
Barnes and Maddison.
Madison is quality as well. So they've still got threat. They've still got threat, but they're probably more, they're vulnerable, and we're coming off confidence. We need to probably attack them still, and we need to.
Yeah. Oh, if we sit back off them, then with players like Maddison, who drops into holes and finds space around the box, you sit back against players like that, they'll have a field day. They'll be like, thank you very much. But like you said, if we attack them, they're totally different game then.
Indeed.
Totally
so it's going to be an interesting. I think we can win it. It's going to come down to a bit of luck, good fortune, a bounce here. It shouldn't be as edgy as tonight, because confidence breeds confidence. The key is to get that defense right. It's to get it tight, and it's to get it effective, and to get that central area, because Maddison plays in that central area. You've got to have Neves in there.
Yeah.
You've got to have Neves in there. I don't know. I don't see them in training. I don't know how good they are in actuality. You've got to give that call. It could be, to be brutally honest. I mean, I'm going to contradict myself here, but it might be. Whereas Arsenal are going to go wide, hit you with pace. If you're sitting back on them, it could be a Moutinho game again. But I'm trying to think who they've got on height-wise. Who's that?
I think the problem with Moutinho playing, especially against Leicester, or especially against Maddison, there'll be too many fouls. He'll give away too many fouls around the box, especially on someone like Maddison, who is quite tricky and has no studs on his boots. And then to compound it, is pretty handy with the free kick as well.
And can launch an absolute thunderbolt in on an occasional too. And I think it would be.
The last thing you want is slightly late challenges around in and around the box, because it is just.
It would mean carnage.
And if that's paired with the wrong centre halves, it's not.
Yeah.
It would be
the same
worrying.
problem, isn't it? It's exactly the same problem. And to be honest, I mean, I've loved Otasai when he's been on, but I don't know how ready he is. You don't know where he's mentally. You don't know if if you're relying on space on the pitch for him to run at. But what I've seen, I've really liked. And I mean, I think Neves for me has to start. I'd like to see Hovier back. I mean, Saiss. He's not so much of a yellow card magnet as he has been.
No, I liked him alongside Neves. I thought they seemed to complement each other very well. But I'd be happy with him as in the back line with Bolly, to be honest.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I'd be equally happy with Kilman back in the more comfortable position. So I think the fullbacks have to be with Semedo on the left and whoever on the right. For me, have to be. I think that looks
Johnny isn't obviously ready.
Yeah, exactly. With who we've got available, that's our strongest pairing. And I'll be honest, even if Marcal was available, I'm in an R in whether that's still our best pairing and whoever.
I think defensively, Marcal is streets ahead of Marcal and Semedo. It doesn't balance you a bit, which is made up by the fact that Neto is so forward thinking that with Marcal being so defensive, it kind of balances.
I mean, but then saying that, I also, as I said earlier, I'd have at the other end with my three. I'd have Traore and Neto on opposite wings to try and push them to go inside, and I'd expecting my wing backs then to provide the width.
Yeah.
I'd just be telling those three at the front, you don't need to go wide. That's not going to be your job now. Your job now is to take it from wide to the middle.
Indeed.
And then you'll have an option on your outside from the wing back.
Yeah, I'd bias it by saying I tend to do this because I think you'd never want to be predictable. But I'll take your point. Yeah. It is. I mean, I can see the problem from Nuno's mind is, you're looking for points. You're looking to scrape a few points. You throw Saiss for Coady effectively, is what we're saying, or Kilman for Coady? It's a big call in terms of leadership.
It is, but then you're playing Neves in front of them.
Yeah.
And there's your leadership.
And that's the crux of it. I mean, it's unfair on Coady, to be fair, a bit.
It is.
But it's about being brutally, I'm the manager, I make the calls.
Yeah,
and I think there's an element of we've let Coady become wolves. It's not Coady's fault. I think we can, if we get it right, we can beat Leicester. If we don't, Leicester can definitely beat us. I think we've got enough to win this game, and I'll take a 4-3. I'll take any 1-goal victory. I do feel that Jose's going to score. I do feel that Neto's due one. I do feel there's other goals due on the pitch. I'm going to go for a 3-2 to Wolves.
Oh, 3-2.
Another 5-goal, another big one against Leicester. I think led up tonight will give everybody confidence. Yes, I say don't care how you win game of football. It sometimes is the way it is that kind of way as demonstrated, but hopefully will give everybody that bounce. Say Leicester are a very, very, very tough cookie to crack. Yeah. And the way in which Brendan Rodgers has built them, they should have been in the Champions League. In all honesty, they bottled it at the end last season. Kind of bit like obviously how we, as did we, indeed. But it's lines up for a very interesting game where obviously Leicester made a pulsating start, but now are in themselves having a little bit of a up and down period. And obviously us on the back of a win against Arsenal. Hopefully that confidence and that kind of hopefully will increase the motivation of the guys. The squad known 3 points potentially on the table again. And we've got the quality there, as we show tonight. We have the quality to do the business. That kind of we're able to exploit them, say through the middle, sometimes on the wings as well. But particularly, I think target through the middle, as the through ball for the penalty was very much through the middle, weighted beautifully, and obviously the defender David Luiz did his thing in hoping and praying, and I think we could cause those kind of problems hopefully. So I will probably go. I'll go another 2-1, but I think a Wolves win could definitely be on the cards, knowing that tonight is a massive boost. Massive boost. And of course, if we do win that, then maybe it will give us a bit of another bump, as obviously for the last 16 game in the cup next Thursday. So it's
looking at the score against Southampton Man U, I was definitely thinking that.
Yes, have you seen the scoreboard? 4-0 to Manchester United at half time. Southampton had a man sent off early on, and Palace have turned it around, by the way. They're now 2-1 up. They scored twice in about 4 minutes in the 20th minute or whatever. So a few interesting. Well, I'm guessing Saints fans currently thinking, "Oh God, not 9-0 again." But I think 2-1, and we'll dig out another great result. And if we do, then hopefully everybody will be like, Wolves are back, all right? Because then obviously 7 points out of a possible 12.
It's a different story, isn't it?
Yeah, different story compared to 8 games without a win.
And to be fair, if we can do that, and I think if you're Fosun, if you're Nuno, if you're any of the players around the squad, you begin to believe again, and especially if you're senior management in that, you think, okay, we've demonstrated that we've made the right decision, and that reinforces whatever your plan was, and you'll execute it. I think Nuno, hopefully, he can see that being more offensive is the way forward. And if you want to be more offensive, as Alec, every manager who wins championships says, you've got to have a strong defence. There's a reason they bought Maguire. Whatever you think of Harry Maguire, slaphead, he's slow. As a defender, he's highly effective.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you think of him. He does the job. And if you've got that confidence that you can, or Van Dijk is the other classic example, or
Liverpool,
we're seeing now with Diaz at Man City. It's not about it. We've got, I think, some of the best attacking talent in this division. Maybe not on a par, but it's some of the best, and it's only going to get better in the next 2 to 3 years. Definitely. The place you put your money is in the defence and central midfield, especially. I mean, if you put it around Neves in that area, pace in there, you're going to kill teams. I mean, you crowd Neves. He plays this tricky ball to a player who's moved wide. You try and press him. Neves has moved into space. He plays the ball down long to Neto, who's run onto. I mean, the reason we don't do that with Neto, to be fair, is I just don't think they've got that telepathy from playing for 2 years, especially in the Championship, where he had so much time to pick out that ball.
Indeed.
And he carried on into the Premier League. Whereas what Neto carries the ball far further than Jota ever did. Jota ran onto it. Great player, love him. Watch him at Liverpool whenever I can. But I honestly think Neto's the better player. And his time is coming. And without Vardy on the pitch, maybe he's the one who's got, he's due goals. It's go and get, an assist and a goal for Neto would, in that 3-2 win, would make my day. I mean, Traore can have the other one, but a solo run.
I think the more you score, I'm going to say 2-1 to Wolves, and with a 2-1, it will breed confidence, and then we will continue and win the next 3 games after that as well. We'll go on a run because the confidence, as Rich said, breeds confidence. I think the more you were saying about that, about putting someone with pace alongside Neto.
Neves.
I just think Neves, sorry. Semedo next to him, that'd be bloody awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of can. Neves is right for price,
but that makes sense. It just seems to make sense. And I know I just get ridiculed if I posted that on the forum. It'd be like, oh, you put a fullback there.
I think one of the reasons.
His attributes is what I think would make it work.
Indeed.
See, to be honest, to be fair to Moutinho, he is. If he can play further up, if you can carry him, he will do damage. He is an all-round player, to be fair, but he has not got the pace. Now, what he has done though, and we saw this in the first season with him, he's trained Neves in aspects of the game he probably didn't have before.
Yeah.
He's still got a place in the team, but it probably isn't for 90 minutes.
I mean, Moutinho for me would be when we play 4-3-3, or we play 4-2-3-1, and we go up, we go ahead, we want to see the game out, and instead of trying to see the game out by sitting back, what we do is we take off one of the 3 in the 1 and we play 4-3-3, and then at the top of the 3 in the middle, you put Moutinho. You don't put him as the defensive one; you put him up as the advanced one. So we're not.
Because he'll still press, won't he?
He'll press and he'll hold. But if he does get run round or loses the ball there and hasn't got, it doesn't matter.
No.
It really doesn't matter because they've got to go all the way down the pitch, and then you can use his intelligence and experience behind a front 3 to and just keep the ball up there. And it was much like at the end of this one, he was playing further forward again. And that's fine. I don't mind him there. But if you're going to play him into 2 or you're going to play him as one of the defensive ones, he, for me, will be a liability because he will give free kicks away in dangerous places. Put him as
he'll feel the need to.
Yes. Put him as that furthest forward one. It suddenly becomes a different thing because
it could almost become a 4-4-2 if we're out of possession, couldn't it?
Yeah, and he becomes then a pressing to player.
Yeah.
That okay, he might not win the ball, but he's then putting pressure onto their players earlier on. It's just
and he is very good at that. In fairness, it's just that once they go past him, past him, if you're relying on him covering the defence, it ain't going to happen.
No.
I mean, it's just a reality. You should never be ashamed of reality.
Absolutely, that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to play him, use him in his best role, and for the attribute that he has now as a player, because he's getting older, pushing him into that sort of role is a much better place for me. I mean, you could go out, and then if you like to sit and try and hold on to a lead, that for me is a more sensible way of doing it, because you're holding the ball further up the pitch, and you're pushing them, and you're keeping the ball away from your goal. It just seems insane to me that you would hold the ball
on
your back line. Because you're using your last line of defence, so you've got nothing behind you. Then if you're doing that at the other end and you lose it, it's got to go all the way past all those other players, and it just
indeed.
Just from a purely defensive point of view, surely it's better to have the ball at the other end away from your goal. It seems logical. Anyway.
Indeed, just to say as well, one final stat. I think you're all interested. Since David Luiz joined Arsenal in August 2019, 3 red cards, 6 penalties conceded, and no other Premier League player has received more than 2 red cards or conceded more than 3 penalties. And all I will say on Luiz, one simple word: karma.
No, I'm not buying that.
I just say he's a clumsy oaf.
Yeah, I mean, we debated this, I think, or it was debated during the. For me, VAR, if you're going to blame anyone, you blame VAR. 9 times out of 10, if you go for a ball the way Raul did, you bring your arms up to protect your head from that side impact. Yes, it was reckless, but if you've got a player and a corner, and you say, why didn't you attack the ball? Why did you give him a free defensive header? I don't say he's completely fault free, but I think the idea that, for ever and a day you're going to blame a player for doing when I've played and when I've watched my son play at very low level, when I watch my daughter play, when I've watched every team I've played, you expect players to make that kind of challenge, and you expect the players who are in the receiving end, if you like, to get their arms up. And the thing that's killed that is if he touches your hand, it's a penalty. And I think that is the reason. And I'm not buying it's completely David Luiz's fault or majority David Luiz's fault. I think if, Raul's gone up for a header, perfectly safe. Luiz, he's charged in. But in the past, you just don't see that. You don't see that as bad. You just don't. If it hits his elbow, his arm, he might get referred shock into his head, but he doesn't get a fractured skull. His arm should be up protecting him. And I see what you mean, if it's our player,
the clumsy oaf can't actually do you damage if you're allowed to put your arm up to protect yourself, basically.
Yeah. You've got to, and it's not Raul's fault. I don't, but no. I don't think you can go on about one. I don't want football to become a game where, and you see it a bit with the VAR decisions where, there's contact. It's a contact sport effectively.
Indeed.
I mean, Neves did a great one on who was it? I think it was Saka. He just shoulder barged him out. That's what I want to say. Strength. Hold the player off. Get your shoulder in, not your arm, your shoulder. Yeah. I don't want the game reduced to Arsene Wenger. He's touched him. It's a foul.
I know.
Yeah. But you were saying about Moutinho further up the pitch. Do you remember a player called Valderrama for Colombia? In his last World Cup, where he just walked up and down the pitch. He never ran. but his passes were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
What a pleasing, what a fascinating place to end.
Right. Okay. So Sunday, it's 2:00 kickoff. I
2:00
think.
kickoff. It's on Sky, I think.
Okay then. So if you want to join us on Sunday after that game, we'll be here. Simple
Cheers.
as that. So if you're watching it, you are all very welcome.
Indeed.
Even the ones who hate us, you're still welcome. So there you
We'd
go.
love to hear you hating us in person.
Absolutely, we're
Would
Wolves
be
fans just
polite.
having a chat and discussing giving our views
Good therapy.
on the game. It's all a good exercise. Well, it's all a good exercise, but it's good with you guys.
And I think we'll get our American friend back, Alex. He'll be back, I think, on Sunday because he'll be available. I think. I can't vouch for that. You know, he's hiding around. I don't know, causing some sort of trouble in America. I don't know.
And hopefully, we'll maybe get a Super Bowl prediction. Considering obviously the Chiefs are in.
Oh God, it'll be the night day of the Super Bowl, won't it? Yeah, we'll have to get him on for that. We'll have to watch. We should do a special one for the Super Bowl at 4:00 in the morning or whatever it is.
Oh dear Lord, no! Although maybe we should also do one for the Test cricket, considering it's back on Channel 4 by the sounds of it. Lovely.
Okay then.
On that,
right.
Thank you very much, guys.
See you Sunday.
See you all later.